Welcome to episode 685 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. And on this episode, we're proving that once again, Richard sometimes can record remotely.
Yeah, we're also proving that, like always, we're recording on a Tuesday night. Always, all the time. We do that all the time. All the time. Always live and always on Tuesday nights. One of those is true.
Yeah, right.
Actually, neither of those is true except for tonight.
Neither of those is true. Tonight, one of those. Yeah, anyway.
Yes. But we've got a fun show for you tonight. YouTube is testing out more interesting changes to YouTube Premium. Roku purchasing a live TV streaming service. You're probably not going to be able to guess which one. IKEA and Sonos are breaking up. Sorry to hear that. Everyone's favorite couple. And Microsoft is increasing the cost of the Xbox. And it's here in the good old United States. So we've also got some feedback. Normally, people email us at entertainment20@thedigitalmediazone.com. There are other ways to get a hold of us, though, and someone did, and I lost the message. I don't know how we got it, but one of you wonderful listeners, I remember, reached out, sent us a message talking about the AutoCast devices, and because on the last episode, we talked about a new Android Auto wireless dongle from AutoCast, and I said, this sounds good, but it's from a company I've never heard of. And one of you reached out and said, I've had their devices, they've been good. However, I can't find that message for the life of me. I checked Twitter, I checked Blue Sky, I checked email, I checked Mastodon. I can't find it. So I'm sorry for not being able to credit the rightful owner of that piece of feedback, but I appreciate you sending it.
Good to know.
Right. It does make me consider buying one of these. I got out of my wife's van the other day, and I thought I should get her one. And then I realized, no, I shouldn't. She doesn't have Android Auto at all in her van. This wouldn't actually be helpful. So, no. I just want an easier way to pair my phone with her car's Bluetooth without problems of that.
So again, as a reminder, with any of these devices that allow this wireless connection, you have to have the Android Auto or CarPlay capability already built into your car.
Right.
Just for traditional wired connections. And this device makes it wireless.
Exactly. So you can hear all about that on the previous episode, which you can find over at thedigitalmediazone.com. And if you want to buy it, there's a link to it on Amazon too. So, which currently has a $10 coupon. So good deal over there. All right. So let's get into this week's news, Richard. And we don't always cover stories like this that are trials of services in other countries, but I think this one is worth it because YouTube is admitting that they are doing this. This isn't like some rumor or something like that. They are trying, they've got an experiment in a few countries, in India, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and France, where they're trying out a new subscription offering for YouTube Premium. Right now, the normal plans are you can have a single person YouTube Premium subscription, or you can have a family subscription, or there's a YouTube Lite subscription. And what they're doing here is offering a two-person YouTube Premium plan at a discount. It costs less than having two individual accounts, and it costs less than having the family plan, which, by the way, the family plan allows you to have up to 5 other members in your YouTube family plan. So this isn't the US, so we don't have real numbers in US dollars here, but the cost breakdown is that the two-person plan saves, it's about a 25% discount over paying for two individual plans. And if you're looking for two people to essentially share a YouTube premium account, I mean, why not? This sounds great, right? Like if you're just a couple and you don't have kids or anything like that, or maybe they're out of the house and you're sick of them freeloading off of your family plans, switch to a two-person plan instead of a family plan and save some money. So, like, there's not much else to this. Like, it's still just YouTube Premium. There's no other change in what it does. It's the YouTube Premium, which gets you an ad-free YouTube experience and their music streaming service and other abilities like being able to download videos to your devices and stuff like that. It's just that it costs less if you only need it for two people. So I hope this becomes a real thing across the rest of the world instead of just these four locations. And I kind of don't see why it wouldn't. Lots of other competing services have this, like Spotify, for example. They have individual and dual and family plans. So this is not an unheard of sort of situation. And I hope it makes it to the US.
It's interesting because YouTube is in that awkward position of not quite being a streaming service like other things that we think about as streaming services, but also not really just a music service. And on the music service side, we're used to things being just by individual. And YouTube from the very beginning has been very personal, very um, targeted toward you, the algorithm identifying you, the user, on your one profile on the account. But streaming services for years have had multiple people or multiple profiles, I should say, that you could set up. And the more that YouTube offers premium content that isn't just cat videos and how to videos, that multiple account thing, I think, becomes more important, particularly as they have content and they're continuing to improve their television experience. We talk about YouTube being primarily a mobile thing, but they are actually investing in making that TV experience more better and more geared toward family viewing. So this seems to make sense, but frankly, I think it's behind. I think their model of having multiple members costs so much more than an individual plan, and a dual plan just being a little bit less than a single plan for two people is kind of missing the mark for a video service. So while this is good, I'm hoping that they go further. I'm hoping that they come up with something that's a little bit better suited for household viewing and not just, kind of incrementally adding one user versus multiple users and getting as much money as they can out of that. But, it's Google, so they're about the money.
Well, I mean, every company is about the money. Like what would be that better solution?
Well, I mean, frankly, if I subscribe to Peacock or if I subscribe to Paramount or I subscribe to Netflix or Hulu or Disney or any of these other big services out there, I get I don't even know how many. 3, 4, 5, 6. I get multiple profiles that can all operate in-house, right? This is all part of the same account off of that one account. Whereas YouTube is expecting close to 3 times as much for a family plan, or now close to double, a little bit less than double for a dual plan. I just don't think the pricing structure is aligned with pretty much anyone else except, as you just mentioned, the music services. But remember, you're paying less for music services.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because you're only getting music. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't see something like that happening, unfortunately. I don't think they're gonna suddenly
Yeah.
decrease prices.
Yeah.
So The best thing we were going to get was YouTube Premium Lite, which is just the ad-free YouTube, nothing else, not the music or anything else, which for a lot of people, I think might be the right answer. I think it's still a little bit on the pricey side for what it is, but it's better than the full priced YouTube Premium.
Right, and now you have another variant of your YouTube subscription. So now are they going to have a YouTube Lite for two people and a YouTube Lite for family? And it just gets so complicated. It seems like there's too many options. We always joke about Amazon having so many different plan options. I think YouTube could get to that place if they were to extend these benefits across their different offerings.
Right, right. But they're in kind of uncharted territory here, right? Because no one else has a service like this. Because everything else is basically just music or just
Right.
video, and this is both.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a little different. All right, well, let's move on to some kind of big news. It's a little bit unusual because Roku, which is widely believed to be the number one streaming platform, is that what we want to call these things? Platforms? Roku compared to Amazon Fire TV, compared to Google TV, these types of things. Roku, as a service, as a company, is acquiring Friendly TV. And maybe you've not heard of Friendly TV. Um, Richard has given me this look like, what the heck is Friendly TV? Well,
It's all about ice cream.
that would be okay. It's not about Friendly's the restaurant. No. It is more family-ish focused entertainment.
Friendlies.
I guess, but it doesn't have like a bunch of
Sundays.
cartoon channels or ice cream channels. Oh my gosh. But it does, it is a live TV streaming service, something like a YouTube TV or a Sling or something like that. But it's way stripped down. There's not cable news. There isn't sports. There aren't big time movie stations. The channels that it has that you would recognize, A&E, Hallmark, like all of the versions of the Hallmark networks, History, Lifetime, Weather, and then like a bunch of channels that probably all of these other services have, but nobody's really watching. I'm sorry if you actually watch these channels, but they're not the most popular ones. The real kicker here is like, if that's all you're really interested in, you can't beat the price. You think that $84 a month for YouTube TV is too much? Well, how does $6.99 a month sound? Because that's what Friendly TV starts at. So pretty nice little offering here to get into the live TV streaming service. They also have an unlimited DVR. They have video on demand. They supplement these channels with a whole bunch of free ad-supported channels too. So it is in a lot of ways very similar to its competitors, just far fewer channels and not very many of the channels that are the big selling points unless you're looking for this stuff. And I don't know, like I think there's probably actually a fair number of families out there that would be interested in something like this. That if you are a household that does not care about sports and you're getting your news from somewhere else, and I don't know, you like History and Lifetime and Hallmark movies and stuff like that, like I think that this probably fits a decent number of households, and it must, because the last time they reported users, their subscriber counts, it was 700,000 subscribers, which is way more than I would have expected for this service. So why is Roku acquiring them? The only thing that I can guess here is that Roku is trying to make the move to be absolutely everything. I mean, they've already got a great platform that practically everybody has. They've got all of these devices that you can plug into any TV for basically any amount of money that you know, if you've only got $30 to spend on a streaming device, Roku's got you covered. If you want to spend 100, they've got you covered. You don't want a device at all? Well, you can buy a TV with Roku built right in, right? And then they have all of the apps that you could possibly imagine. And now they're going to own their own live TV streaming service. Now, do they then go to expand this, maybe offer different tiers, adding on more channels? I could see that happening. I mean, it seems like the real thing here is, like, we all know that Roku, they're not really making their money from the hardware devices. They're making their money from ads. And the other way to get money is subscription services. And now they're actually going to own a subscription streaming service. Is it the biggest player in the world? By no means. But it's a foot in the door. And maybe that foot in the door opens more doors to expand those offerings even more upmarket in ways that they can charge even more for the service.
Yeah, it's an interesting move, and I do think it makes sense for them. I mean, remember they have Roku TV, and Roku TV offers content. It's not significantly different from a lot of the other free ad supported services that are out there today, but this gives them not premium, but brand name content that they could potentially include in that, either as part of that offering or as an additional fee. Now, the interesting thing to me here is that these networks, A&E, Hallmark History, these were jointly owned. Well, they are jointly owned by Disney and Hearst. So this is potentially getting some of the big name cable networks into their offering, as well as a ton. And that's the other thing that I don't think we've really talked about. This also brings a lot of on-demand content to the Roku library. And again, they could either just make that available as part of the Roku offering or offer that at an additional fee, which would be good for them. I think this is smart. I've never heard of Friendly TV before talking about it just now today. So I think that gives some indication as to, how well known they are or not, because you and I do keep tabs on this sort of stuff. So um, yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about this. I mean, I think it's smart. Yay for Friendly TV. They got a good exit out of this, I think. And I'm curious to see where Roku goes with this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that sounds like a potentially sort of happy ending ish for Friendly TV. I mean, it's not really an ending, but it's the end of a phase of Friendly's life cycle. I'm not sure that this next story is a happy ending, but it's definitely an ending.
Yeah, and you kind of you kind of spoiled it with our teaser up front that in fact Sonos and IKEA are going their own separate ways. So with the Symphonist product line at IKEA, IKEA's been offering Sonos products for, I think it's been close to a decade now, 8 years or something like that. And these products have been at a lower price point than where you would typically find Sonos products if you were to buy them from Sonos. And they've been well received. They were in a bunch of different form factors: a bookshelf speaker, a couple different lamps, and even a piece of art that had a speaker behind it, and you could change out the art panel in front of it. All of these have been well received. They've sold very well. And kind of out of the blue, Sonos announced that they are no longer going to be partnering with IKEA, that the IKEA stock that's available will sell out, and that will be the end of any additional products with IKEA, or if you read between the lines of their statement, any other third party product partner. It sounds like they've made the conscious decision that they are bringing all product development in-house and will keep it in-house and will no longer be partnering with third parties for stuff like that. So it's an interesting move. I don't quite understand it, particularly for a company that's been struggling a little bit, unless this was not a moneymaker for them. Maybe the licensing that they got out of this just wasn't worth it. And they figure that it's a loss compared to people potentially buying products from them, which it's worth noting they've recently reduced the prices on since they had creeped up so high over the past few years.
Yeah, that's the only real angle that I can see here either, especially if it is essentially Sonos that's ending this partnership. Like, the only angle that really feels like it makes sense is either, oh, well, it is essentially that, well, we look at every IKEA product sale as a lost opportunity. It's cannibalizing our own sales,
Right.
regardless of licensing cost at all. So I don't, I, the the IKEA devices. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name of these. Um, they've always seemed like the gateway into the Sonos ecosystem
Yep.
because they were lower cost and they had some. And it wasn't even just that it was some lower cost Sonos gear. It was also that they were unique. I mean, the picture frame is super weird. And having lamps that are smart speakers is kind of an awesome idea. Now, you can
Yep.
definitely debate whether you like the styling of those lamps, but
Spoilers, I did not.
right. But to use a couple of lamps as your surround speakers is kind of awesome and will probably get far more approval from everyone else in your family than sticking regular
Right.
looking speakers back there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it always seemed like a really good partnership to me. And so it is really unfortunate to see that this is ending and like you're saying, that there aren't going to be any other partnerships for Sonos with other manufacturers. It's weird.
Yep. Yep. Again, this is a company that's been struggling, trying to kind of recover after a couple really boneheaded management decisions and moves over the last year or two. So this could be just another step in their trying to get their act together again thing.
Right, right. Okay, well, let's move on to maybe the most disappointing news, at least for gamers out there this week. Kind of out of nowhere, the day after Microsoft did their quarterly earnings call, they announced, yeah, we're increasing the cost of like everything Xbox. Consoles are going up, all of the hardware is going up, games are going up. The only thing that they didn't increase the price on, I think, is Xbox Game Pass, which I think we can maybe assume is going to happen sooner rather than later. But so how much are we talking about here? Well, the Xbox Series S, the lower cost, lower powered one, is going from starting at $300 to starting at $380. Like, this isn't a small jump here. And the Xbox Series X, the more powerful one, all of the SKUs are going up by $100. The digital one that didn't have the HD Blu-ray or the 4K Blu-ray drive in it used to be $450. It's now $550. The base 500 one is now $600. They're all going up by $100. And controllers are going up. A basic controller will now start at $65. All of their headsets are increasing in price. And starting this holiday season, their first party, like major games, are going to be $79.99, $10 more a month. They throw in the concession that they'll also be Xbox Play Anywhere, but I don't think that's a new thing. I think the vast majority, maybe all, of Xbox Game Studios' first party games have been Xbox Play Anywhere, which, if you don't remember what that means, it's just the capability of you can buy it on Xbox or on PC, and you can play it on both without having to purchase it multiple times. And it'll do cloud saves and everything like that. So you can start on one device, pick up on the other device right where you left off. I love Xbox Play Anywhere. So I'm confused by this, Richard. PlayStation is not increasing the price of their consoles in the US. And Xbox is. Like, PlayStation raised console prices a couple of times over the last couple of years in other regions, but not here. The one region where Xbox is somewhat competitive with PlayStation, because it's not in Europe or Japan. And Xbox is increasing prices anyway. Like, this feels like, well, one, it feels like them kind of giving up, that they're just like, well, like, we're not going to win this generation, so we should try and recoup some of our losses here. And at the same time, also feels like they're saying, well, the Switch 2 is more expensive, and the Switch 2 announced that all of their hardware, their controllers, all of that stuff is going to be more expensive. Their first party games are going to be $80. So if Nintendo's doing it, so can we, right? Like, we can absolutely get away with this, right? Right? I mean, I think they will, because I think this will lead the way for PlayStation to do some of this. I absolutely expect the price of games to go up to $80 on PlayStation. But will they increase the price of their consoles? I don't know. Like, there's kind of no reason for them not to.
Do you not think that this is partially related to tariffs?
I think that it has to be at least partially related to tariffs. But these have always, like, consoles, except for Nintendo consoles, have pretty much always been loss leaders. Like, you sell a console knowing that you're losing out on the hardware cost, but you're making it up in game licensing.
Right. But you still, that, like, how much you lose is still part of the calculation, right?
Yes, it for sure is. But for them to do it first in the US just feels really surprising. Like, to see.
Except that they're the only US manufacturer or they're the only US company that is making the major consoles, that's bringing them in. And granted, the other companies also are dealing with tariffs, but I imagine that a US based company, even if they are international, is looking at tariffs from a slightly different perspective than international companies are.
Sure. Like, I'm sure that they are, but those tariffs are the same for Sony.
Yep, I get it. I get it. So the other thing I want to just mention briefly, when you talked about the $80 price, I think you misspoke. You said per month. You're not talking about the subscription plan,
no,
right? You're talking about individual purchases of individual games that you then own the license to.
Correct.
Okay.
If you just purchase an individual first party Xbox game this holiday, it will be an $80 game. No, the subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, it's not changing. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's also a $10 jump, which we just saw a $10 jump with this generation. For 15 years, AAA games were $60. Really going back to, like, the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 generation, and then with the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, they went from $60 to $70, and now, only 5 years later, they're jumping another $10 to $80.
Yeah.
I don't really have a problem with that. When this generation went up to $70, I was on the show saying, I'm fine with that. Games are ridiculously expensive to make. They kind of seem like a deal at $60 or $70 for how many hours of enjoyment you can get out of these things. And if you don't like it, there are plenty of ways to save money on purchasing games, and there are so many free to play games out there. So I'm fine with the $80 for a new game. That's fine. But
Yep.
woof, like this is a lot for 5-year-old hardware. And I think it feels even more surprising when Nintendo at the beginning of April said, "Hey, here's our new Switch 2. It's going to be $450." And then a few days later, all of the Trump tariffs go into effect, and they're like, "Well, hold on, we're going to delay pre-orders in the US while we figure out our strategy." And
Mm-hmm.
they didn't change the price of the Switch 2. They changed the price of the extra hardware, the controllers and all of that. But the Switch 2 console itself stayed at $450. So
Yep.
they were able to deal with that, but Xbox isn't. So I don't know. It's just kind of shocking to see the company that's in third place doing this. And like, does it greatly impact me? No. Like, I don't have plans to buy another Xbox console. I don't really need another one. But it does make me wonder what the next ones are going to cost. And I mean, for years, really, as long as we've been doing this show, I've said I'm a console gamer because consoles are so much less expensive than building a gaming PC. And that's still true, but this stuff keeps making it less true. And PC gaming, it's really kind of turning into the place to go for gaming because all of these first party Xbox games are available on Windows PC. Sony is releasing more and more of their games on PC. They're not coming to Xbox, even though Xbox continues to push more of their games to PlayStation. So if you've got a gaming PC, you can play all of the first party Xbox games, most of the major PlayStation games, and everything else that's just on PC, which is, everything else. So the only thing you're missing out on is Switch games, which aren't really going to come to anything other than Switch. Like, that's just always going to be its own constant thing. I don't know. For the next generation, if things don't radically change, it might be time for me to start thinking it's time to build a gaming PC instead, because it might not actually end up being that much more expensive at this point. Because what's the next Xbox going to cost? $700? $800? I don't think that's unreasonable at this point.
Depends where it's produced.
Yeah, and what the tariff situation is.
Yep.
It's not going to be produced here, regardless of the tariff situation.
Right, because then it would be over $1,000. I mean,
Right.
it's not practical to produce those boxes in the U.S.,
No,
but can they change their manufacturing pipeline fast enough to support their next hardware line in a way that would make it still affordable for people? And I mean, I think every company is grappling with that right now.
for sure, for sure. And with the PlayStation 5 Pro already being $650, I was kind of expecting the next, and that was before the tariffs were announced, because that was last year. I was already expecting that, well, that's probably what the next generation is going to start at. But now it feels like it's going to be even more. But, like we keep saying, we don't know what the tariff situation is going to be. No one knows what the tariff situation is going to be tomorrow. It just keeps changing. So who knows when these things finally do launch in probably a couple of years. I think we're 2 or 3 years away tops from the next generation. All right. Well, that's the way we're going to end the news segment, with some real downer news. So maybe we've got some better news to talk about with what's going on in our entertainment centers. So Richard, what's
Nope.
going on in yours? No? Oh boy.
Well, let's start on a high. I
Okay.
bought a new TV.
Ooh, that is fun.
It is fun. I bought a new TV because I'm down at our rental place and we have a TV in the rec room that I've been fighting with for years now, where every time I'm down here, guests have disconnected all the cables because it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It has a cable box connected to it. It has a receiver connected to it. It has an Xbox connected to the receiver, which is connected to the TV. And it's all supposed to work with one remote because CEC. And it usually does until it stops working. And it's usually the cable box that stops first. And that's problematic because in the rec room, while people are watching pool, you know what people want to watch? They want to watch the game
Yep.
while they're playing pool. So if the cable isn't working, people get frustrated and they start trying to come up with solutions on their own that usually end up in ultimately negative consequences for everybody else that's going to use the TV after them.
Right.
So I've kind of given up on this and I figured, okay, well, let's let's try a new TV. Let's get a newer generation TV. All the TVs here are Samsung TVs. Let's get a new Samsung TV. They're supposed to be better at connecting to everything. So I replaced it pretty much with the an upgraded version of what we had already. Same size, looks the same, better picture, newer model. And although I didn't like that it really wanted me to use my Smart Things app to set it up because that's how Samsung does things now, as well as LG and everybody else these days, it just found everything. I didn't have to do the remote control setup thing. I didn't it found everything and automatically set it up to work with its own remote using CEC. It was amazing.
When you say it found everything, you mean it found the cable box and the
It found the
Xbox and
cable
all of
box.
that.
It recognized that it was Spectrum cable. It found the receiver and it recognized what kind of receiver that it was. And it turned on CEC. It turned on audio return channel, everything automatically.
That's amazing.
Right?
Like that's what it was
This.
supposed to do 10 years ago, but that's
Right.
amazing.
Right. This is how CEC is supposed to work. So, all that's great. So now I go and I log into my Samsung account because I know that to download the apps onto the Samsung TV, I have to be logged in. So I log into my personal Samsung account, which is my SmartThings account, which connects to controlling things in my home. And I download the apps that I want to have on the TV and make sure all the guests have those apps available to them. And I remove my account from the TV and I go to start Netflix. Please log into your Samsung account. What?
What?
What? Then I go to watch the free ad supported TV service that Samsung has on the television. Please log into your Samsung account.
Come on.
Hulu, Netflix, Disney, all the apps, anything other than cable that you have connected to this television, you must be logged into a Samsung account to use it. Period.
Wow.
Insane. That is nothing more than an information grab. There is
Right.
no good reason for that. They're already making money on the free ad supported streaming TV that they include on the television. They are already working with these different partners to have their apps built in and available on the TV. So, why do they also have to have my information or a guest's information, as is the case in a rental property, to use the stuff on the TV? It's insane. So I ended up having to create a specific new Samsung account for this house for this property so that guests don't have to have a Samsung account to watch Netflix, because that's the most stupid thing ever.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like the solution isn't terrible. Like, yes, you can make a throwaway Samsung account, but you should not have to do this.
Right. Right.
Wow.
And what happens if it decides, in the interests of security, that it's going to log me out every so many days
Right.
because security,
Right.
right?
So you're just gonna
I,
have to like write the password to your throwaway Samsung account on a sticky and put it on the back of every TV. Like, oh,
yeah,
so dumb.
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So my advice to anybody who is outfitting a rental property or an Airbnb or something like that, don't buy Samsung TVs. And if it weren't for the fact that every other TV in the house is a Samsung TV, and I wanted them to work somewhat the same, and I wanted to have the same remotes on all of them, I wouldn't have done the same, because Roku is actually probably the best suited to handling short term rentals, because they have a thing where you can sign into the TV, sign in just by saying, yeah, I'm here for 7 days. After 7 days, then delete everything that I used. And you don't have to provide a password. You don't have to have an account. You just tell it, I'm going to be here for this many days. And it automatically logs you out of everything. Basically, just resets the whole TV when you're done. Really smart. Good way to handle that. Samsung apparently does not care about stuff like that. I
No.
reached out to their support team. They have no way of getting around this requirement. And it seemed apparently surprising to them that someone didn't like it. Whatever. Insane. Now, the other thing that I am doing while I'm here at the rental property is I am alleviating our dependency on cable television. And that is a result of Spectrum again increasing the price of their outdated, crippled Aris cable boxes that I've been renting for 11 televisions every single month for something like, these days it's $12.50. It started out as $11. Now it's $12.50. It's now going up to $14 a month. $14 a month for a box that they have largely removed most of the capabilities from. They've removed the ability to customize the guide. They've removed anything that gives any sort of branding on the TV station so that you can easily, as you flip through the guide, see what station is what, aside from their 5-digit weird abbreviation for the network. So I'm done. I'm done. I'm keeping the cable boxes on the common room TVs. So the bar, the rec room, the great room, and all of the individual rooms, the bedrooms, I'm getting rid of the boxes. There's just, I can't justify $14 a pop for this piece of crap cable box that Aris has done nothing, or sorry, Spectrum has done nothing to invest in, and yet continues to expect customers to pay more and more for. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I wish there was a way that you could like get the data. Like how often were people even using the cable TV boxes in the bedrooms? Like probably not very often. So this seems like a very smart choice.
Yeah, and the only thing that I have to go on is that every time that I come here, when I go to make sure that all the TVs are working, usually the TVs in the bedrooms have either a streaming service on or the free Samsung TV service. So if they're if the majority of the time I'm not finding the cable box on, then yeah, I just don't see a reason to keep it.
Yeah.
So that's 14 times 8. I'll be times 12. I'll be saving some money.
Right.
and and I think people can use streaming services on the other TVs if they really want content in their bedrooms. But maybe just get some rest in your bedroom. I don't know.
Right. Right.
All right, so I am not caught up on The Last of Us. I have uh, been watching up through episode 3, so I missed this last weekend's episode. You start?
I did. I did.
All right.
I'm at the same point as you. Uh,
Okay.
we will, of course, not have any spoilers here. No spoilers at
Nope.
all.
Nope.
I did finish the game before starting this, like I said I would.
Right. Right.
You
Cool.
remember? You remember a few months ago we did an episode where we just talked about our favorite TV shows and movies, and
Mm-hmm.
I was rightfully called out for saying I'm not going to put The Last of Us on my list of favorite TV shows yet until I see how season 2 goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I picked Heroes as one of my favorites, even though season 1 was the only one that
Right.
was really
Right.
good.
Right. Right.
Yes,
Right.
totally
I do
fair.
remember the heroes call out
Yes,
too. Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
fair. I'm not happy with the direction of this season of The Last of
Oh,
Us.
interesting. Interesting. Okay.
And I can talk about this without spoiling anything. They are doing some things that are different from the game. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them, like, not huge deals, but they're adding a lot of things. And the thing that I don't like, I know what a lot of people are already thinking. They're like, oh, Josh is just, he's being one of those guys who's like, it was perfect in the game, and anything you do to change it from the game is ruining it. No, that's not the case. Like, there were things that they changed or added on in season 1 that I really enjoyed. But for the most part, season 1 was like, yep, here's the game, as acted out by real life actors instead of 3D models. This, it feels like they're changing things because the game ends in a way that, like, they leave the door open for, and I mean the second game, they leave the door open for there to be more stories here. But they also pretty neatly wrap up the story, I think, in a way
Mm-hmm.
that works. And I'm fine with that. Like, that can be the last of Us game, and that would be okay. It feels like a lot of the changes they're making here are just so they can keep making season 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 of the show when they shouldn't. Like, I don't want The Last of Us to turn into The Walking Dead. That, like, I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, these little changes about, oh, they introduced this character earlier, or they changed who's in this scene versus the game. Those aren't like sullying The Last of Us good name. If they go on to make a whole bunch of seasons on their own that are completely new content, any other big shows that did that ever?
Let me see. Let's ask George R. R. Martin
Yeah.
and see what he thinks.
How did that work out?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but everyone I talked to seemed to not be all that happy with the final season of Game of Thrones.
Right.
Let's leave this to the experts. And like, some people will say, yeah, but Josh, like, the people who worked on the game are working on the show. I don't care. Like, let's just let it be good enough, because it is good enough on its own. We don't need more after this. And it also seems like they are adding so much extra stuff that they are taking, like, The Last of Us Part 2 as a game was basically twice as long as the first game. And, like, they're for sure going to make the second game at least 2 seasons. There's no, because this season is only 7 episodes, right? I think it's 7.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah, I
way
think so.
they're telling this whole story in 7 episodes, especially not at the pace they're going. So we're already looking at 2 seasons here, and it just looks like they're trying to milk this for everything they possibly can. And I don't like
Hmm.
that.
Okay. So you have the perspective of having played the game. I haven't played the game, so I don't have that context. I only know of the game through the stories and contrasts that they discuss in the podcast.
Yeah.
And again, I think we both recommend the podcast to anybody that's watching this because it's really good insight into what they're doing and why they're doing it. But I'm really enjoying this season. It has been an emotional roller coaster, but I think it's really good, and I'm I'm kind of engaged by the fact that there are new people to love and new people to hate
Yeah.
in this season. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad, but it's not as good as it could be because some of the changes they're making, they are leaving certain things out that maybe they're making the argument of, well, that was only in the game because it was a game. Some of these things aren't things that were just for being in a game, that make the way this all ends even more impactful.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything about it. We can maybe talk once this is all wrapped up or something, but I don't love that. Like it's good, but it's not as good as it could have been. And season 1 was really really good,
Yeah.
mostly because it really stuck to the game. Yeah.
Okay. Well, probably less controversial. I'm also watching The Voice. And in fact, left watching last night's episode to come downstairs and record tonight. So I'll be going back up to that to catch up and stay up to date. I mentioned before that we were watching old episodes of Two Broke Girls that is available on Roku TV. It's the only place that you can find it, and Roku TV is not available on anything but Roku devices and the internet. So I am watching it through a browser that I am then screen sharing to my television
Wow.
to be able to watch episodes. And it's fine. It's fine. At least AirPlay works on it, so it doesn't seem completely wonky. I just can't pause because if I pause, the whole episode restarts. I don't know what that's about. So this weekend, while my friend Chris and his wife were in town, we watched the last of the Hunger Games movies, the original series of the Hunger Games movies. You may remember, you might not because it's been a while, but about a year ago, they got me started rewatching the Hunger Games because I had only seen the first movie. So I
Oh,
watched all the others with them, but only got up to Mockingjay Part 1 and then never got to watch the second one on my own. So we watched the second one and I liked it. I wasn't thrilled with the ending, and it did seem like it did a whole bunch of endings. This sort of like the last Lord of the Rings movie did. It seemed like there were a lot of ending scenes to wrap things up. And I wasn't overly excited about the way they wrapped up some of those storylines, but uh, I liked it. I'm glad I finished it. And I do want to go back and now see the prequel movies that they've started anyway. I think there's one out so far. So
hmm.
I do want to see that. And I think there's been some rumors of maybe possibly Kiefer Sutherland coming in to step into the role his father had,
Oh,
um,
wow.
which would be really interesting
Yeah.
if they did that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're both such phenomenal actors.
Oh, totally. Totally. And then I am still going through the 99% Invisible City for our book club. And I also started listening to the book called The Siren's Call. This is a book authored by Chris Hayes. It is about attention and how how attention is garnered by different sources, how attention works, the psyche of it, and the sociology behind it, and how over time, how you get one's attention has changed from way back in the days of you're a hunter and gatherer and you need to be aware that there's a wolf's call somewhere, up to the 15-second blip that throws some insanely controversial concept in front of you and you have to figure out how to process it. So it's pretty good. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
All right, that was long, but partly because we got into a discussion about one of the things that we're both watching. What else is going on in your entertainment center, Josh?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with TV since that's where most of yours was. Uh, the only other thing that I've been watching on TV in addition to The Last of Us is hockey. The NHL playoffs are back. Signed up for Sling TV like I always do to watch the playoffs. If you have any interest in hockey, you should watch. Like these playoffs have been so, so good. And this is coming from a guy whose team is not in the playoffs. They've just been really, really good. If you
Yeah.
can watch one of the Toronto, Florida games, watch. If you can watch a Dallas game, watch it. Uh, the Edmonton Las Vegas series is likely to be very good. There's going to be a lot of really good hockey throughout the rest of these playoffs. We had two absolutely amazing game sevens this weekend. It's been really, really good hockey. That's been so good it's actually kept me away from a game that I'm also really enjoying. I mentioned already on the gaming side, I finished The Last of Us Part 2 already. I started a new game. It is on Game Pass, but it's also on PC. I don't think it's on PlayStation. It is a game from a French developer. It is called Claire Obscure Expedition 33. It's not a great name for a game. This is a really, really cool game. Again, I said it's a French developer, but it's really made in the style of more classic Japanese role playing games. If you loved Final Fantasy X, you're probably going to love this. The graphics are gorgeous. Unlike most Japanese role playing games, the story actually kind of makes sense and it's interesting. Um, it is turn-based combat with uh, uh, real-time mechanics built in too. So like the gameplay is good. It's kind of hard, but not too hard that I've turned it down to baby mode yet. Uh, I I'm pretty convinced it's going to happen for me, but I've been really, really liking this game. It's doing really well. All of the reviews have been really good. The game has already sold over 2 million copies. And even if you don't have Game Pass, this isn't an $80 game. It's not even a $70 game. It is a $50 game. And it's still like it is like you hear $50 game and you think, oh, it must not be that great. No, it's really, really good. It ought to be a $70 game, but it's not. So go and check out Claire Obscure Expedition 33 if you like Japanese role playing games at all. Did watch a movie, and it's a movie you watched recently. And that's actually one of the reasons why I watched it. Jen and I had some time this weekend, and she's like, we should watch something. Maybe we should start Dark Matter from for the Apple TV show from the Blake Crouch book that we both really loved. And I said, yes, we can. Or if you're thinking about a movie, I've been considering The Gorge. Richard watched it. He liked it too. What do you want to do? And she said, I'm kind of more in the mood for a movie. So we watched The Gorge. It was fine. It's not bad. Like we liked it, but it wasn't phenomenal. You know, maybe the weirdest thing about this movie, I've never watched a movie and thought for the entire length of the movie, I can't believe how much this character looks like a video game. Like the lead actress in this movie looks like a video game character. I
Oh,
have
interesting.
like I don't know, she just the her facial structure, everything about her makes her look like a video game character, and not in a bad way. Like she's a very attractive woman, but it just like it kind of stood out to me as different, just different. Um, the actors are both good. The story is interesting. Um, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm thinking about it more, and I feel like the sets themselves also kind of lean toward that video game set feel.
Yeah, yeah. It does kind of feel that way too. Yeah.
Because the sets are minimal
Right.
for the majority of the film.
Yeah.
They have basically, I assume, one set that they redress to be two different locations,
Right.
and then they have on location outdoor stuff, and then they have all the stuff for the gorge. And I don't know how they did that, but um, it does feel very minimal in terms of set creation or decor or whatever you would call it.
Right. Right. Yeah. The maybe the thing that we got the biggest kick out of was when the helicopter shows up near the end, and the helicopter, this isn't really that much of a spoiler. Like there are helicopters, woo, it's not a spoiler. But the helicopter has the company name on the side. Like you're advertising this? That's weird. It's weird. Um,
Yeah.
like we didn't know where the helicopter was. Like we didn't need it spelled out where the helicopter was coming from. They wouldn't have had the company name on the side of the helicopter. It's just a little ridiculous.
I don't know. InGen did. I mean, I'm just saying.
I guess. I guess. So yeah, I think that's it. I've been reading some books. Nothing I'd recommend. I was all prepared to listen to a couple of shorter books for my half marathon that I ran a couple weeks ago, because I thought I was going to be running by myself. And I was like, Jen, you're going to need to recommend me some books that are going to keep my attention for a 13-mile run. But fortunately, I did end up running with some friends, so I didn't end up listening to anything during that run either. So, um, yeah, that's it. That's it for books. Hopefully next week I'll have something better. Actually, I know I will, because the my workbook club, we read The House on the Cerulean Sea at some point last year. I loved it. I got you to read it. You loved it. There's a sequel. That's the book we're reading next for our book club. So,
Cool. I've already bought it.
yeah. And Jen's already read it. She's like, you're going to love it. So, I'm sure I'll be recommending that one soon. All right. Well, that's what's going on in my entertainment center. And that's what's going on with the show. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, there are a lot of ways that you can do that. And I promise if you do, I'll be more responsible with dealing with your feedback so that I can properly credit you on a future episode. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky and all of that at Josh Pollard. The website is at DigiMediaZone. It's still only on X. If you really want to find me, just use Blue Sky. Richard is on Mastodon and Blue Sky, Richard Gunther and richardgunther.com on Blue Sky. And we sometimes do the show live. But we also, when we record the video, we throw this show up on our YouTube channel. Also, do us a favor, head on over there, like and subscribe to that video. We would love that if you'd help us out there. And if you follow us on social, we will probably let you know when we're going to do the next show live. So that's.
And before you jump into your exit, I just want to point out, because I don't know that if you, since you've done this, that you've actually called it out yet, but this podcast is now available on YouTube as a podcast.
Oh,
So you can subscribe to us as a podcast in YouTube now.
yes. Like the official correct way of doing it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you
In
for
addition to
reminding me of that.
subscribing to our channel, which you should also do.
Right. Which it's there. Like that's, but there's also just a link. Like if you use YouTube for podcast, we've got a link directly to that over on the website at thedigitalmediazone.com. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. All right. Well, that is going to do it for episode 685. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.